Welcome to another episode of Under the Strap. I'm your host, John Rathouz, and on this episode, we've got Hiram Sapp, CEO of SappSuperStarSports, a new friend of mine from the Phoenix Open this year. Hiram helped the Caddie Network go viral when he and his brother answered a question of who the best tipper on tour is. Hiram and I cover a variety of topics, including his upcoming projects that give opportunities to minority golfers and caddies. He recalls stories from his dad about obstacles overcome, caddying for celebrities, time spent with Tiger Woods, and thoughts on the current African-American players in the game. Hiram has an infectious personality, and I'm so proud to share some of his story and aspirations. Let's get behind him. And stay tuned, because in the last 6 holes, I'm joined by Michael Collins, senior golf analyst for ESPN.com and America's Caddy. Michael is actually the first caddy I ever met 18 years ago and has carved out quite a career for himself. We highlight the caddy partnerships for the top 10 players in the world rankings. It's some great content. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Under the Strap. Joined now Under the Strap by Hiram Sapp, CEO and president of SappSuperStarSports. Welcome, my man.
Good to be back, man. I missed being on the show with you, and I'm happy that you invited me back on.
Yeah, and we were just chatting off screen. You got your sweet Eric Dickerson glasses on. You say you get some nice comments on those.
Yeah, I every time I wear these glasses to different golf outings and different sporting events, people think I'm Eric Dickerson. I was at an event a couple of months ago where I had I can't believe how I could be 5 different guys in one day. One minute I'm Eric Dickerson, another minute I'm Isaiah Thomas, another minute I'm Denzel Washington, another, it just went out. I said, well, who am I?
What out of that bunch, who would you rather be? Denzel, that's pretty good.
Denzel probably, most likely to be Denzel. He makes the most money, but it's fun. It's good right now. Life is just, I can't believe how good life is, John. It's everything that I wanted to do in life, particularly sports, is all coming together. I've got I really got too much on my plate. Right now I'm trying to juggle and make sure that I can give all the things that I have the proper attention.
Well, you do a great job of that. You're a man of many hats, and maybe getting this out there a little bit will get some more people helping you out, contributing to all the different causes. Give a little bit of backstory on how we met. Earlier this year in Phoenix, was out for the Phoenix Open, and you and I met on the range on Tuesday. You were there with your brother, and we had a nice conversation. You chatted me up, and we did a nice recording. I asked you and your brother a question because your brother is a longtime locker room attendant out at the course there during the tournament. The pros come to town, and I said, who's the best tipper ever? And you didn't skip a beat, and you said
Phil Mickelson. And everybody, we both said it right on cue, and everybody thinks that we rehearsed that, but truly, right. Phil is the best tipper, by far. Every golfer is supposed to leave money with the 7 attendants inside because they take care of these guys all week long with their mail, with their bags, their shoes. And a lot of guys don't really appreciate what my brother and those guys do for him. Phil, being from here, went to school here. He's close to Arizona, so when he plays and wins, everybody's happy because he goes large, and it's a good day. So that's why we had no problem saying it was Phil Mickelson.
And we put that video up on the Caddie Network Twitter, and I mean, within a day, Mickelson retweeted it. It still is the biggest viewing piece we've had all year long. I mean, over 500,000 views. And what's interesting is here we are 5 months later, and we're grateful for all that Phil's done for our game and stuff. But man, is he in a totally different space than he was even back in February.
I know it's sad, to see, because that was so great that we went viral. Like you said, I've got so many people made comments about us being on, and Phil responding right away. It was just unbelievable. And then the next week, the shoe dropped on the other foot, and it's just sad to see him. He's got a beard. He just doesn't seem like the same Phil. I went and got the book right away. I got the book and read the book, and he's been plus 31 in playing golf lately. He hasn't played golf. The day he played even. So I hope that he might be coming back. But like you said, he's been such a great ambassador to the game, and he's had, like anybody, he's not perfect. People have problems, but I think he's been good for golf, and golf has been good to him. And I personally hope that he rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do too. I haven't had a chance to read the book. I would like to do that. In fact, I'm going on a trip next week, so I think maybe that'll make that part of my trip. But what did you think of the book? What stood out about it?
Oh, it was a in-depth, honest look at Phil. Phil, to me, has been he's not really scrutinized like the book did. He's had a lot of passes. He's been the guy, the golden boy, the guy that everybody looks up to, the smile, the next Jack.
Yeah.
But he's human.
Yeah.
He's made mistakes. He's got some challenges, and the book addressed it. It went into gambling is something that Phil likes to do on and off the course.
Yeah.
And it addressed that. It also addressed it, his personal life. He gives a lot. He gives a lot back, but he also takes a lot, And he's a great golfer. It doesn't take anything away from him in this modern era, being number 2 behind Tiger. And he's had a great career. And I think that he's on the road to recovering. And he put it out there that it was something that, well, in the book, going back to the book, in the book, it addressed it, a lot of the different things that Phil has done that a lot of people didn't know that about Phil.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're right, and he's on a different path right now, and hopefully he's back in our good graces in the future, and we definitely owe him a lot of debts. Another thing that you picked up over the years there from your brother out at the TPC and stuff is you've inherited a lot of VJ Singh's old golf shirts, which I think is great. You guys are the same size, and you go out and you got these nice flashy VJ Singh golf shirts that you wear out.
Well, yeah. Well, it came from, like I said, going back with Phil being the best tipper, VJ decided to give his apparel instead of leaving money. And my brother and I, and especially me, I jumped right on it. Anytime you could get equipment or clothing or apparel that comes from a pro golfer, and at that time, VJ was number 2 in the world. And you're right. He's the same height. I'm 6'3", he's 6'3", 210, and it fits me perfectly. And I told my brother, yeah, man, don't worry about the money. Let's get that apparel. And so I love wearing his clothes and showing off the fact that they're made for VJ Singh. You can't buy them off the rack. And they were made just for him and me. And I enjoy wearing them.
I love it. Well, one of the things we got the chance to catch up on initially was just you've been a caddy a lot of your life. It's in your blood. In terms of, you did 16 years at Silverleaf and Paradise Valley there in Phoenix. They would send you out with all the big names that rolled through. What is it about caddying that you love so much? And I know you've been playing a little bit more recently, but you still get a chance to caddy even when you're out playing. Just tell me a little bit about, what you love about caddying.
Well, what I love about caddy, I'm a country club caddy. I'm not a professional caddy. And being at the country club, they wanted to have the guests be with me because my personality, an engaging, charming, outgoing personality, a trivial guy. As you know, I'm my recall is very good. And when we had athletes come through and celebrities, they would match me with them because a lot of times the athletes and celebrities don't want to be asked a lot of questions. Well, what the case would be with me, they're asking me questions. They wanted me to tell them about what they did versus me asking them questions. And I had a lot of fun with Wayne Gretzky and John Elway and guys like that. Dan Quayle, the vice president, Eric Dickerson, some who's who in sports world and politics. And I enjoyed sharing their lives with their friends on the golf course and having fun and really having a lot of fun opposed to being real serious and being able to club them and finding their balls. My nickname was Eagle Eyes. I have pretty good eyesight. and I was able to find balls. You know how important that is to find a golf ball when you're on a golf course. So that was another trait that they liked me for, and it was a lot of fun. And the history of it, my father was a caddy. My father was a better golfer than I am, and he caddied, and he made a real good living and a good start in golf back in the days when blacks weren't allowed to play golf. My father caddied, and he caddied up until the point where he met my mother, and blacks weren't allowed to play golf until 1964. So he put golf down and followed my mother up to New York and put his caddy career on hold and continued playing golf and bowling. But it's in my blood, like you said, to continue to try to carry his legacy on in our family with golf and caddying. And I'm starting a caddy academy where I want to teach underprivileged kids and all type of kids how to caddy, especially now on the PGA Tour. Caddying is becoming very lucrative, and in the country club. And it's another field of golf that a lot of people don't go to school for, don't look at, but it's very lucrative, and it could be a real good opportunity for people who want to get into golf.
That's out there at the Legacy Sports Complex in Phoenix. I guess just tell us kind of where everything's at with that program, and maybe, how people can, stay tuned with what's going on or maybe help out.
With the Caddie Academy, I'm starting it in my hometown, Syracuse. What I want to do is go back and be involved in the cities that I had input in: Syracuse, Buffalo, where I went to college, Detroit, and here. You mentioned the Legacy Sports. Legacy Sports is a beautiful sports complex that just opened up in Mesa, Chandler, Arizona. Dan O'Brien is the director, former great Olympic gold medalist. And what we're going to be doing, SappSuperStarSports, is helping individuals who want to play golf, and in particularly with Cowboy, Bob Ming, whose nickname is Cowboy, one of the greatest caddies, minority caddies in the history of golf, is working with me on that. And we're going to have a caddy school where not just teaching golf, but we're going to teach people how to be caddies. And how to earn a living being a caddy. You don't have to have a certain degree. You don't have to go to college for it. You just got to have the ability to want to learn and be taught and have a love for the game.
Well, you're right about Cowboy. I've been out with Cowboy before. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I can picture him, and he's one of the all-time greats for sure.
Well, he's still wearing his cowboy hats. He's 70-something years old. He's a full-time caddy around the clock. And I've learned a lot from him. It's just a privilege to work with him and have him to be associated with me. I'm proud of him. I'm proud that he's always willing to work with me. I come up with the ideas, and he brings the expertise, and he brings the legitimacy to what I'm trying to do to help people in the game of golf.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about how it's maybe even more lucrative in the professional side with caddying now, but I mean, the job is the same. It's always been the same, and a lot of African American were first caddies that were out there. And I want to get back to your dad just a little bit, because I know that there's some interesting stories you have with him, just because I think it's important for people to hear, as we kind of track a little bit of what the African American experiences with golf. Someone like your father that was kind of playing in the 50s and 60s. I had a chance to watch Michael Collins from ESPN, who's going to be appearing on the back end of this podcast. Caught up with him, and he's got some interesting things to say, but he had a great episode where they talked about Charlie Sifford, who passed away earlier this year, and he had won the Greater Hartford Open, was one of his 2 PGA Tour wins. And so I guess just kind of tying into Charlie Sifford, who kind of broke that color barrier on the professional side, but also like your dad growing up, playing and caddying, and just some of the things that he had to overcome, as a really good golfer, but maybe not having the same opportunity.
Well, first of all, like you say, you're absolutely correct. The only way African-American could get close to a golf course was he had to be a caddy. And my father was a caddy first, and he was a golfer at night. They caddied, and you wouldn't believe it, they caddied for 75 cents. back in those days, 18 holes. And sometimes the member would try to take him in behind the building and ask him to give the money back, after working for 4 hours caddying for 75 cents. I don't know if this story is true or not, but my father said one time he swallowed the 75 cents. He wanted to keep it so bad that he swallowed it. And so, but that's the only way they could get out there and play, because playing was difficult. They weren't allowed to play, so they had to come back at night, turn their car on, and use their car lights to practice golf, because they weren't allowed to play during the day or allowed to even pick up. And it's incredible how good they were able to get without having the formal training and going through the process that normally a golfer would do. So a lot of things were unusual, tougher to do, but the caddy business kept them close to caddying, kept them close to golf,
right?
Gave them opportunity to meet the greatest golfers, be around golfers, pick their brains and serve them. And my father did real well at it, and it helped his golf game. And he shared it with me and my brother that you might not be a chance to be a golfer, but you could be a caddy. And you don't have to have an education, like I said earlier, for that. Just the skills and the opportunities that he showed us gave us an opportunity to know a lot about golf. And this is what I want to do with my golf academy. I want to share through the Hiram Sapp Senior Golf Academy, Caddy Academy, how individuals can become a caddy and learn how to be one and use that process to make a nice living.
Yeah, that's such a good, cause to undertake. And, you mentioned Detroit earlier. I want to talk a little bit about your background in Detroit, because the tournament's going to be in Detroit the week that we're airing this. Also, you've got some great stories with Tiger Woods that I want to get to too. But one person that I wasn't aware of that you told me about as we've gotten to know each other over the last few months, that was a really successful professional golfer is a guy by the name of Walter Morgan, and you used to kind of manage him a little bit in the early 90s. I guess, what stands out about Walter Morgan's career when you think back?
Well, the first thing people don't know, they were talking about Walter actually shot his age. He shot, I think he's in the Guinness Book of Records of shooting it. He had 12 birdies that day in Canada that he shot under his age. And he didn't start playing golf.
Like 60 or 61 or something.
Yeah, and he didn't start playing golf until he was 32 years old when he first picked up a club. And he was in the Air Force, and he was able to not play on the PGA Tour, but able to play on the Senior Tour, which was now called the Champions Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that a guy could, get this far in golf without being brought up in golf like normal great golfers, like when you're 6 years old, 8 years old, or 10, but to pick it up at 32. And I had an opportunity I was a sports agent at the time when I was in Detroit, and I met him and his wife, and I asked him, could I help manage his career, help market it, help set up a foundation, and just help set him, get him a lot more opportunities than he was getting, and really show people what a great man that this was. Mm-hmm. And it was a short-lived experience, but I was really happy that we were able to do some good things in Detroit. And in Walter's career, Walter was very good at his career, and he's not as known as Jim Dent or Kelvin Pete or Jim Thorpe, but I'm glad you mentioned that you were impressed with the fact that a lot of people don't know who Walter is, and he's a great man.
Yeah, so you mentioned Detroit there, and I had a chance to caddy at the event there, the Rocket Mortgage, and I can't remember the name of the golf course, like Detroit Country Club maybe, really cool golf course there, and then used to go up to Grand Blanc to the course there just north of Detroit. So, Detroit with Oakland Hills too has kind of a very, great background in the game of golf. I don't know if you want to share some stories about, the game of golf in Detroit, the time you spent there, but also, that was kind of your first run-ins with Tiger Woods and some of the times when you spent with Tiger and Earl and even his caddy Stevie back in the day.
Well, like you said, the golf tournaments were up at Grand Blanc, the Buick Open. and Tiger just came on the scene. And my father was the first person that told me about Tiger Woods. When Tiger was 9 years old, my father was a mail carrier, and he got the Golf Weekly and Golf Digest. And he said, this guy is not only going to be the best black golfer, he's going to be the best golfer of all time. So I started following Tiger. And when Tiger came to play golf at the Buick Open, I would go there for all week long. I would start off from Monday, the time that he arrived, until Sunday. And just go up there and follow him. I was so proud to be around him and follow him. And I did a lot of things where a lot of people couldn't do. I could stay right in. I was like in every shot that Tiger made, you could see me in print. My friends would be watching TV and they were saying, man, they hadn't seen me in a long time. And wherever Tiger was there, you could see Hiram Sapp. I knew how to get on the golf course and be in every shot, from the tee box to the approach shot and to the putting. And I even helped almost like security when people try to kick Tiger's ball or move it. I say, hey, don't touch that ball, and move the people out the way. And then I got to meet him, through my sports. I was a sports agent at that time. And Barry Sanders came to watch Tiger play. And Barry's a humble guy, real nice athlete. And I said, Barry, why are you here? And he says, I came to see Tiger. I said, we're using my thinking cap. I said, would you like to meet him? And Barry didn't need me to meet Tiger Woods. He was a big-time all-pro Nike guy, but he's a shy guy, humble guy. And I said, well, would you mind if I introduce you to him? He said, sure. So I just went up to Tiger, went down where Tiger was practicing at, and I said, Barry Sanders would like to meet you. And I didn't know Tiger. So Tiger told, I call Steve Williams, his caddy, I call him Nate because he's from Australia. And Tiger told him to go to his car and get some passes for us. And he'd like to meet Barry after the golf match. And so here we are, Steve Williams and I literally run into Tiger's car to get the golf passes out. And I told Barry that Tiger said he would love to meet him. He'd like to talk to him about his foundation and his golf. And Barry said, wow, you did all that? I said, yeah, we're going to meet him after he gets done playing. And here are our passes. And let's go back there. And we went back there. And after Tiger got done, and Barry and Tiger just had a real good time. And Tiger was just starting his golf tournaments, the Tiger Woods Foundation. And Barry got part of it. And it was a blast. And I just had a nice opportunity of doing things, being in and around Tiger, showing up, and just always enduring myself to follow him and see his greatness at that time. And anytime he was in town or around the country or any city that I was in, I would go see him play and just try to renew our acquaintance. And I got an opportunity, I take that back, of when he played at one of the majors in town. I got an opportunity to walk with his father, Earl. Earl was walking around, and they had assigned somebody to be with him. And I talked to Earl for about 5 minutes, and he understood I was pretty astute and a good fan of Tiger. He asked me to walk with him, and we walked those 18 holes, and it was fun listening to Earl's perspective. He kept saying, I wish Tiger would just get his birdie and get out. But Tiger was, young, and he was really aggressive, and he was going for eagles and all the time. And Earl would just try to get him to calm down. And it was just fun to be around. And even to this day, right now, I'm trying to put together a black open, a black golf tournament in the Bahamas. And the country of Bahamas is helping me with Tiger to try to cage the Tiger and help us get this tournament together, which will help other professional black golfers. The Cameron Champs, the Harold Varner, and we got some other new guys that just came on. You and I talked about Quinn and Greg Odom Jr. and Quinn that just came out of North Carolina. We also have, Vernon and Joseph Bartlett. Just getting more and more. And if Tiger could play at his course in the Bahamas with these guys, and we're looking at getting some sponsors to help put this on. And Tiger's never done this before, and hopefully we'll be able to put this together and give these guys some more exposure. And because Tiger, he's still golf. He's the one that moves the needle. And with his participation, I think it'll be a great opportunity for these guys.
Well, I love the idea, and I think what you need to do is we need to get you in touch with Steph Curry. I mean, he's involved in this APGA, the Advocates Pro Golf Association Tour. I saw Willie
Yes.
Mack had a win earlier this year, and Steph's kind of all in on supporting that tour. So I think you mentioned the players that are on the PGA Tour and getting all these people behind. I think there's a great opportunity for that to happen. I guess you're a really good basketball player. You played college ball and stuff. What are your thoughts on Steph Curry kind of and what they're doing with the APGA? And then also, as he not takes down another NBA title here within the last couple of months?
Well, that's perfect. Steph was one of the players I was going to try to reach out as a player, because Steph's got a good game. I want Steph to play with these guys. I just watched him in Tahoe this weekend. He played up in Utah and had that bet with Charles. Did he win the bet with Charles Barkley or did he lose?
All I saw is that Steph holed out a wedge during the tournament. That was the only highlight I was able to see, but I'm sure he cleaned up with Barkley. I mean, that's easy money.
Yeah, Charles is all Charles wanted to do was be better than 73rd on the list of 90 guys. That was the bet he had to be. And Steph bet that he wasn't going to make it. And but it was fun. Steph is a great ambassador. And you're right. I will reach out more to him because I think with his star power, his enthusiasm for golf, because I think golf is going to be his future after he gets done with basketball. Right. He's had a great run in basketball. They had another great championship, and he's a pretty good golfer.
Yeah, he is, and I think he's hosting a tournament on tour here upcoming. So maybe that's the play. Maybe we get in with the APGA, and then the winners of the tournaments, and then you get like Varner and Camp Champ and Bramlett, and then they all go play. That's the reward. Is at the end you get into Tiger's Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. Let's make this happen.
Beautiful. That sounds like a great idea. Let's work on that. That's something that I'm always open to opportunities. I'm always open to ideas that can help. Dan Gilbert that's helped sponsor the Quicken, with Quicken Loan, the tournament that's coming in Detroit. He's been real good at making sure that minorities get a fair share. I'd like to get him to be the title sponsor of an event that we're trying to put on with a Steph Curry, a Tiger Woods, yourself. I think we can make it happen.
Well, you're a self-described pro golf addict. I know you watch a ton of pro golf, so I really value your opinion on kind of just who's playing really well right now. Who are you really impressed by at the moment? I mean, they might be the top players in the world, or maybe there's some up-and-comer that really catches your eye. I guess rattle off a few of the players on the PGA Tour that you're really intrigued by right now.
Well, Scotty, the number one golfer in the world. I'm really impressed with the way Scotty's playing, and I think that he's here to stay. Xavier Scheffler is the hottest golfer right now.
Xander, yeah.
Xander Scheffler, you can't do no better than what he's done. I mean, he's won last week. He won twice in 1 week. He's won actually 3 tournaments, but he won twice. He won the Travelers. Then he came back in the short pro-am, the 2-day pro-am the Tiger played in. He won that, and then he went out and won the Scottish Open. So you can't get no hotter than that. And I like his game. He's a real humble kid. He's good for the game, and I like the way he plays. I like Burns, and I like JT, who's under Tiger's wings right now. I think Justin Thomas is definitely, and I like to see the comeback that Jordan Spieth is making. I think Jordan Spieth has found his game again. There's so many, John, great golfers out there. It's good for the game to see, because I think the guys that were good the last 10 years, Brooks, Dustin Johnson, Phil, they're not reveling anymore. They've made so much money. There's so much money going on that some of the greats in the past, they're falling down. They're not as hungry as these young guys are. And so we're going to see a changing of the guard, I think, right before us. I think John Rahm hang up in there. I like John Rahm also. He's here to stay. But I think there's going to be a changing of the guard as far as the guys that have been winning the last 10 years. except for JT. I think JT, out of that group that won the last 10 years, I think he's going to maintain because he's got a new incentive of being with Tiger. And don't forget Roy. Roy's always maintained. He's got a great attitude. I think Roy would probably win. If I'm betting on somebody to win this weekend, I would go with Rory. Who do you like?
Yeah, during the Open Championship. Yeah, no, well, Rory was one of my picks. We'll know when this drops who won. I was on Rory and Scotty and Xander, and I actually threw Dustin Johnson in there as a kind of a little longer shot. I was high on Tony Finau. He didn't get off to the greatest first round start. What about among the African American golfers? Let's just concentrate on the main two of them, I guess, that come to mind, other than Tiger. Cam Champ and Harold Varner. I guess, what are your impressions of kind of where they're at in their career right now, and maybe what's to come?
Well, Harold's having his best season. Harold Varner's having the best season of his career. He hasn't won except for he won on the European Tour. He won that $1 million on the European Tour. Phil was in that tournament, and so was Dustin Johnson, and so was he broke. Remember he hit that shot, a 90-foot putt to win, yeah. And it was incredible, in the last hole. And this year, Harold's made cuts. He's playing. I think he's going to do well here at the British Open. He missed a cut last year. The year before, he hit a 66 on the last day. Champ has got a wrist injury. A lot of people don't know. Champ had a good Masters. He came in 10th, tied T10. But other than that, he hasn't done much. Those are the two top black golfers that stand out, yeah. Harold Varner and Cameron Champ. Yeah. I've got a chance to see them both and meet them both in person. I think they've got a great career. And I think that if Cam Champ can get his wrist injury healed, I think you're going to see more out of him. Joseph has played pretty well. He's under the radar. He's not making a lot of noise, but he's made cuts. He's in his career has been, hurt by his back injuries, but I think he's finally come around. He's got a good caddy and got a good support system. But answering your question, the top two would be Harold Varner and Cam Champ. Yeah. And I look at seeing a lot out of those guys, and they're getting endorsements. They're getting a lot more exposure, and they're playing better. Yeah. Right now for golf, as far as minorities, this is the best we've ever had. And the other two kids I mentioned earlier that are coming out, Quinn from University of North Carolina, who played in the tournament a couple of weeks ago with the John Deere. He didn't make the cut, but he showed real good.
He was at the John Deere. Yeah, I got a chance to meet him there. Yeah.
Yeah, you met him. He was there. And Greg Odom Jr., another one. Willie.
He played good on Friday.
Yeah, he played really good on Friday. Willie Mack III is another upcoming golfer. Johnson. So right now, professional golf is the best. I wish my father could be here to see how far the blacks have done on the PGA Tour. They did well on the Champions Tour, but to see how far they've done in the big show is really good. And I'm doing the best I can. I like my title I had when you Google me on the internet. The first thing he says, Hiram Sapp is doing the best he can to promote black golf and minority golf and get it exposed. And I like to be considered a person that's trying to make a difference and trying to help promote these guys and give them opportunity that they desperately need so they can move their games on and be relevant in the sport of golf.
I love that, Hiram, and that's a great mission, and we're here to help. And I do think that win from Harold is going to come at some point this year. I want to get you out of here on one. I like to ask this last question of all my guests, and it's a little bit of a put you in a situation here. Let's say, what's your favorite major? If you could win any major, what would it be?
For me, it would be the Masters. The history of the Masters, I hope I get the chance someday to go to the Masters. I mean, the British Open is fine. The U.S. Open is good. The PGA is good. But that Masters, that's what really gets me going. And I really believe that I'm going to get an opportunity through my work and what I do. I'm a person that's putting people together. I'm not an agent anymore, per se. We're working on people one-on-one. Yeah. I'm a kingmaker, a deal maker. I'm putting people together. And I think the things that I'm working on, the things I'm doing, I I'm pretty sure I'm going to get an invite to be down there and represent the minority community on my efforts and work I've done. It's just every year going down Magnolia Lane and thinking about the Masters and the history of it and the opportunity that's given to minorities to play in it. Of all the majors, I think the Masters has done the best job of recognizing minorities in the game of golf and dedicating what they did for Lee Elder last year, what they've done for Tiger, what they've done now with Cameron Champ and Hero Varner plays in it. That would be my one. The Masters would be the one that I would cherish the most, the one that I would just would just give me goosebumps.
Well, I like that. You put these little nuggets out in the universe and they tend to come true. So I like this idea of getting Hiram to the Masters here sometime soon. But the question here is, now I know that you want to win the Masters. Okay, so you're playing well that week. I'm caddying for you. We're doing well. You've got a one-shot lead going into Sunday. Are you following me here?
Yes, I am.
You've got a one-shot lead going into Sunday. And I got to call you. I said, man, I broke my leg last night, Hiram. I pulled a Dustin Johnson. I can't go on Sunday, but you can call anyone in the world to caddy for you on Sunday to get you across the finish line. Who are you going to call to help you win that green jacket?
And you're not going to be able to do it. You were caddying with me, and you can't do it.
I can't do it. I got you as far as I could go. You got to bring in somebody else to get you across the finish line.
I would say it would be my brother Charles. He's been so good to me. I could pull a lot of names out of great caddies, but to get me across the finish line would be my brother, because my brother's my biggest supporter, he's the one that's helps me get a lot of attention that I get. And you heard that day when we were on with Phil, people say, well, can you ever let your brother get a chance to talk? Because I'm always talking, but he's always behind me. He's been the greatest brother you can ever have. And you're talking about getting over the finish line. I think that he would make me feel comfortable enough to get where I need to get that day. But him saying, hey, man, remember what Dad told you? We can do this thing. Let's do it.
I believe you 100%. Having met your brother, he would be a phenomenal caddy for you coming down the stretch. Hey, Hiram, thanks so much for taking some time out today. We'll do all the promoting we can of the ventures you got going, and I'm so happy that you're a fellow birthday brother. So I'm so happy we met earlier this year and we had a chance to finally do this.
Well, thank you, John. I really want to thank you again. Like I say, life is really good right now. I've got some great friends and family in my life, and it's just that, like you said, the universe has been so good to me. I just don't know. I pinch myself every day that everything is coming together, and it's just remarkable that it's all coming together. And I just hope I can continue to make a difference, live out the legacy that my father had, get to the Masters. And I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity on your social platform, the opportunity that I'm getting to help spread the news. And you don't know how much I want to thank you for allowing me to have this platform.
You got it, my man. Anytime. Thank you. All the best. Thanks again to Hiram. What a cool dude. And I can't stop picturing him out on the town in Scottsdale wearing a VJ Singh polo that he shot 65 in. Now, on to Michael Collins, who is around the best players and caddies in the world on a weekly basis out on tour. And since Michael is a caddy too, I thought he'd be a great person to ask about the right-hand man for each of the top 10 players in the world heading into the Open Championship. Cameron Smith was number 6 at the time. Shout out to Sam Pinfold. Enjoy. Let's look at, and I can't take credit for this. Claude Harmon did this on his podcast. It was super interesting. He did it with John Wood, so I'm going to do it with you.
All right.
We're going to take the top 10 golfers in the world and their caddies, and maybe if you could just give me first thing that comes to mind, maybe mostly about their looper or their team aspect. So let's just start off. Number 1 player in the world, Scottie Scheffler and Ted Scott.
Scottie would not be world number 1 if he wouldn't have brought Scheffler, if Scheff wouldn't have brought Ted Scott. Yep. It's the greatest. That was the greatest, not steal, but that was the greatest thing Scottie Scheffler ever did. And those two together are the perfect match. And it's why they're world number 1. It's why they're so difficult to beat. It's also why so many other guys now look at Scottie and Ted Scott and go, why is it when they're not at their best, they still look like that they're having a good time on the course? And why can't we be like that?
Yeah.
Like that's the great example to learn from them.
That's great, Caddy. Rory and Harry Diamond.
Harry does not get enough credit for being what Rory needs, and being a good caddy. Rory and Harry are very much like DJ and Austin in the fact that everybody, when Rory brought Harry on, they were just like, "Oh, you just bringing your buddy on, like you can't win with a buddy on there." And people looked at like, "Hey, DJ bringing Austin on, he's done winning majors." No, he obviously not. And that's the thing. That's what people get confused when it comes to the player caddy relationship. What makes a great caddy is knowing what the player needs. And nobody knows that more than the player. And so, like, Rory and Harry together would Harry be a great caddy for somebody else? Like, could you see Harry with Xander Schauffele? Hell no. That wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But Rory and Harry, yeah, it works.
Yeah, we're not gonna see Harry in the lot anytime in the next 10 years.
No, but I bet you if the two of them split, somebody gonna call him.
Yeah, probably. What about Rom and Adam Hayes?
That's another one. When they first got together, I'll never forget, another member of the media like said something disparaging about how Rom would have been better off with a different caddy. They said they called it more experienced. And it was one of the most hurtful and yet motivating things that ever happened to Adam Hayes. And again, if there are two guys that are perfect for each other, it is those two.
Yeah.
And that's, like, people don't understand that Adam has a long history of caddying for some good golfers. But what makes Adam great, too, is Adam did not caddy the same for John Rahm that he did for the other guys he caddied for, because that's not what they needed. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I think make him and Rahm so good together, and why I don't see them splitting anytime soon. No. You know what I mean? They know how good they are together.
Yeah. How about Cantley and Revy, the minister?
Yeah, that's another one who
their heart rate is this.
You know how disappointed people would be if you made both of them pee in a cup and be like, "There's no marijuana in either cup." Seriously? Like, how is that possible? But you know what they're underrated in? And as a stand-up guy who did stand-up professionally for 20 years, I appreciate their dry sense of humor. Like, Matt is not given enough credit for how smart his humor is and how he gets Patrick's humor, why they're so good together. We saw a glimpse of that a while back at Kapalua when they got caught on 18, like with a little extra time. And like most people didn't even get the joke that they were doing. And I was on the floor about peeing my pants laughing at how quick Matt was. And so that's another, they're another, people ask all the time, "Hey man, Mike, would you go back to caddying?" I'm like, there's any of the dudes that would make me like serious cash, you're not moving any of them dudes. I'm not, and I wouldn't take that bag from them either.
The hottest duo right now, Xander and Austin, they're awesome.
Yeah. And Austin, I mean, Austin is a great golfer as well. He's a really, really good golfer. And sometimes, even though you're a good golfer, if your game is a little different than what your player's game is, then the reason that you become a great caddy is because you see things and see the course in a way that your player didn't necessarily see it because of how they play it. And I think that's a big thing for Austin and Xander. And that trust thing, man, that trust thing between the two of them is like knowing sometimes you got to say some things that your player might not want to hear, but being able to have the freedom to do that because your player trusts and knows that, like, Xander's never going to look at Austin and be like, "Man, why you messed me up?" Like, Xander knows, like, you are rooting harder for me sometimes than I'm rooting for me.
Yeah. Cameron Smith and Sam Pinfold have done well this year, especially.
Yeah. And they're probably those two guys together are probably the most least known of the caddies that are the caddy player combinations that are out there. And And sometimes if you just see them on the golf course, they do not look like they should be caddy player.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's be honest, man. Pinfold looks like he could be on the wall of a post office somewhere. Like, yeah, of course, that's the guy who like probably got some bodies buried in a backyard somewhere. But then you talk to you're like, this guy doesn't sound like anything I was expecting. He is the epitome of a guy who doesn't, when you talk to him and hang out near around him and whatnot, and then hear him interact, you're like, that's not what I was expecting. Like if you're on the outside of the rope, seeing those two just walking down the fairway.
Yeah, they're super chill. They do their thing. JT and Bones, I mean, talk about another great hire.
Yeah. That was I mean, think about Bones was in somewhat of a good place anyway. Like we know Bones and Woody are both very good broadcasters and they did a phenomenal job. And so what did Bones have to know and see from JT to go, hey, I'm willing to put this down, which is free airfare, free hotel, free food, free rental car. Like, you ain't miss a cut. You got a steady paycheck coming in all the time for the uncertainty of caddying. You know how good a player has to be for a caddy to go, I'm giving up that guarantee. And I think the other thing is you have to believe, like, I'm going to bring something to the table that could make this guy next level. And I think everybody kind of saw that. It was like, oh man, what Bones can bring to the table for JT is gonna be really, really good. And JT has to allow him to do that, which that's the other thing that's been so great, is that JT, as a player, you have to allow your caddy like to say those hard things sometimes. You have to be able to, like, when you don't agree, you still have to listen. And sometimes the caddy's right. Right. And that's one of the things where I think the biggest compliment Bones probably would say he got, and I think it's from LaCava. Forgive me, Joe, if we didn't want this out there, but I'm as a caddy, I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
And LaCava once told me, and I talked to him about like the caddies and the World Golf Hall of Fame, where there are no damn caddies, which is bull. Yeah. We all know it's bull, other than the statue outside. Come on, whatever. But, you know, LaCava said that Phil Mickelson would never have become Phil Mickelson without Bones. And never has a more truer statement been made. And because that is true, that Phil doesn't become Phil without Bones. And so now you see the success that JT and Bones are having together. And yes, you know, most of that is because of the golfer that JT is. But does it happen without Bones?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all these hires, I mean, you talk about saying something difficult. He said something to him on the range on Saturday night, you know, and all these golfers, the good ones, it just puffs their shoulders back just a hair, puffs their chest out.
Right.
And it's
or it
enough.
Takes them out of a mind space.
Yeah.
What it is like these dudes are already, you got to have that cocky belief anyway. But, man, it's such a razor's edge that sometimes they get out of that mind space real quick. And it takes the caddy. But here's what makes a great caddy. If you say something like that and the moment isn't perfect, it has zero effect.
Right.
You got to know the exact moment when that's going to have the effect that it's needed. And in other cases, you got to know, like when you go, man, right now seems like it would be the perfect moment to say something. But I also know that if I don't say nothing, and I let that dude sit there and stew for another day or another hour or another hole, like those, that's what makes great caddies.
Yeah. Excellent instincts. JJ and Morikawa have blended amazingly.
Yeah. That's, you know, back in when they first won at TPC Harding Park, I think that was a very Jerry Maguire moment for a bunch of other players and caddies, and like, hey man, how come we not like that? Right? And that's, but I think it even goes back further than that. I mean, you and I have seen how caddying has changed, right? And I think Jordan brought it to the we to the forefront
Yeah.
more than anybody else ever has. And I think like for Colin and JJ, like they have now just taken that reins and run with it too, where it is now, you got two guys like Colin and JJ, and like you're going against a team. You're not
Yeah.
going against one golfer. You're not going against one dude. Like you got to take out both of them. Because if Colin isn't at his best, JJ's going to be able to say something or talk him into a club that he might normally not have been able to hit without JJ. But
Yeah.
because he's not at his best, like let's say normally would have been an 8-iron, but JJ knows that Colin doesn't have his best stuff, but he talks Colin into a 7-iron, which he hits now to like 4 feet. Which without JJ, Colin ain't hitting that. He's gonna try and hit the 8-iron because I got this. And like, no, you don't got this, right? Like that's when you got to go up against a team like that can work that well together in sync, man.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to watch, and you get jealous as a caddy.
Yeah.
You be like,
Yeah. I
man,
mean, they keep them on the road, the momentum, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't bump off. The Live Golf Tour's done an interesting job of throwing caddies up on the podium, and you had a nice reference to Michael Greller there too. How about one guy, Shea Knight, I always went out with. I was so impressed with him, and he never really had the player. Lance Bennett's always, he's been on record as saying like, I've been very good at picking out jobs. Like you have to have, so Shea finally gets a really elite player in Victor Hovland, and
yeah,
they've taken off as well.
yeah. And that's another thing too, where when the two of them first got together, you went, man, I don't know I wonder how that's gonna work. Because that's, in the very beginning there's always the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Where it's like the player is like, man, you're the greatest caddy ever. This is amazing. You can say whatever you want to me. This is gonna be cool. And the caddy's like, man, you're the greatest player ever. I can say whatever I need to you, man. And then after a while, something happens where you go, ooh, that ain't. And so I think what was great about the two of them was in the beginning, they didn't have instant success. It wasn't like the two of them got together and Victor started winning majors, right? They ain't got that.
Yeah.
So, but seeing kind of the growth of their relationship and now knowing that Shea is one of those caddies that can get Victor across the line. And I think Victor, you can see in the way that the two of them work together on the golf course, I think you can see that Victor understands that as well, and he knows that too. And I think then that is a nod to Shea when you like. I mean, you and I, we've had plenty of times and have been around dudes, us included, like that have worked for guys that were never going to win a major championship. I worked for a couple of dudes that I was like, well, I know this dude's never going to win a major, right? So it's like, okay, is this guy going to be good enough to stay in the top 100 to keep the card every year and it's going to be successful? And maybe you catch that like lottery ticket week where everything comes together and this is awesome, maybe, and stuff. And so when you see someone who looked like they were a caddy that was really, really good, and you're like, man, I would love to see that dude on an elite bag just to see. Seeing Shea there is, that's where Lance is right. Going, yeah, man, it's cool seeing a caddy who's that good with a player now who also is that good.
Right, yeah. And if you stick around long enough and you play your cards right, that happens.
Yeah.
Billy Foster, the GOAT,
Dude.
got a sick win there, finally got his major. Him and Fitzy have climbed up the rankings.
Yeah. But I love watching Billy. Billy on the golf course, no matter where you are in the tournament, other than that 18th hole to win the US Open. Billy is the Vijay Singh and Hideki Matsuyama of caddy expressions. Right, Billy, no matter what, you could have a putt for an eagle on a hole that has never had an eagle before, or you could have a putt for a triple, and Billy is always going to look like he just smelled someone else's fart. Right? But that's part of like you still like because he's been in the game, so there's nothing this dude has not seen, and there's nothing that a player like I don't know that there's anything that he probably hasn't heard from a player, both nice and viciously mean, right?
And I don't think he said the same thing on the golf course 2 times ever in his life either.
Ever. But that's I don't know, man. For him, he had to have gone through moments as a caddy with the guys and the people that he has caddied for before Fitzpatrick. You're going to have moments where you think to yourself, maybe it's just not.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah. Like almost like, you know what? Like those guys who play in the NFL or the MLB and the NHL and the NBA who just never get the title. And you're like, wow, how'd that dude? And for Billy, there had to be those moments when it's like, you know what? Like you only get so many opportunities. And then those opportunities stop happening. And I think when him and Fitz got together, it was like, wow, man, I'm going to get some shots at this. And the emotion that you saw out of him, after Will's putt missed and Fitzy just looked over him. And that's all he had to do. Like, as a caddy, when your player looks at you and gives you that look of appreciation, like without even saying thank you, I get emotional just now, like talking about it, because I know for Billy, like what that must have felt like of having somebody look at you and go, hey, man, thanks.
Yeah.
Like that, all those 40 years, just you hit that button and be like, hey, man, watch 40 years of emotion come out real quick. Whoosh!
It was quite a moment. Well, I know you got another show to get to. I want to ask you if one scenario, say I'm caddying for you at the Masters, because I think that's the one you would want the most, and you're playing, and you've got a one-shot lead heading in the final round. I've been doing a great job for you all week, but I broke my leg the night before I was out, slipped like Dustin Johnson, and you need to get on the phone.
I caddied Q School they thought I had a broken fibula, the little one. Yeah.
And you made it through.
I made it through. I made it.
Yeah,
that was my first one. The week before, I was performing in the Bahamas and was out with my buddy on a jet ski and went over the side of a jet ski, and they thought I broke my fibula. And then the next week had the caddy at Q School out at on the west when it was out in the west when it was out on the West Coast. And so
desert,
so if you broke your leg,
and so you need to call somebody to caddy for you in the final round to get it done. Who are you going to call?
Final round of the Masters, and I got a one-shot lead. Who am I? And you broke your leg. Number one, I'll be calling at you, cursing you out at first. Wow, that's hard.
I ask everybody this.
Yeah, I know, dude, and I hope it takes people as long as it's taking me to answer this, because who would be the caddy who I would think would be able to
with your personality?
That's the hard part. The hard part is because I'm like my players would tell you too. I'm a lot different when on the golf course caddying than I am in doing this kind of stuff. Most of my players would tell you I'm not funny on the golf course unless I had to be, unless there was a moment. And I'm the same way when I play. Like if I'm playing really good and I'm in a good headspace and stuff like that, I'm not cracking. I'm pretty quiet. Yeah, I'm relatively.
So you might need
quiet.
Somebody to cut it up a little bit for you, huh?
Maybe, because I'm gonna have those moments where I'm a little shook and I'm gonna need somebody to like. But you got to know exactly when to hit that moment. So who would be my caddy?
Well, maybe we'll throw you out there with Billy Foster and see what happens.
No, because there would be moments where Billy wouldn't know. I would be glancing over at him and I would see like the look on his face and I would be mad. Be like, you're not even into this. You don't even care, right? You know who I would take?
All right, we got it.
Yeah, I got it. I'd take LaCava. I'd take Joey. I take Joey because Joey understands those moments, but he also the thing that makes Joe such a great caddy as well is those in between times we would be talking about anything other than golf. Like, we'll be talking sports, we'll be talking NFC East, we'll be arguing about politics, which sometimes the best thing, especially for me, is a distraction.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I mean, yeah, I understand what the moment is. I get it. But that moment's not going to help me hit a shot.
Right.
Where if I'm arguing with you about sports or politics or whatever, anything, if we're talking about something else, then I'm so in that moment when it's time to hit the shot, I'm like, I'm going to hit this shot and then we're going to get back to arguing. So I'm going to hit a great shot and I'll be right back. Right?
He's a professional caddy. He's really good.
He's one of the best, man. He's one of the best.
Okay, so you're doing your show with ESPN. It's been super entertaining to track this year. I guess, what do you have? I want you to be able to give a plug here at the end with what's going on the rest of the summer.
For me, I'm filming the rest of. We have one more episode to finish of America's Caddy.
Yep.
For the end of the season, and I don't think we're doing one on the President's Cup. I don't think so, but that might. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm just doing the Hitting the Green on SiriusXM with Jason Sobel. Me and him, we got our shows to do and stuff, and then doing the SportsCenter stuff. You know, as the year goes on, I think I'm doing PGA Tour Live.
Yep. I'm
gonna finally get to be out on the golf course, and of course, they're sending me to Memphis. I'll be sweating. Yeah, man, it's gonna be like, hey, you gonna walk the whole time? No, I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna have a cart, and I'm gonna ride. And I'm gonna get out, and then I'm gonna walk a little bit, and I'm gonna get back in the cart and ride for a minute, so I don't die. So I'm gonna do that. Think I'm going to the Tour Championship to cover it for ESPN, as well. And yeah, I got, you know me, man. I'm trying to have like 37 jobs, bro.
Yeah, you're hustling.
Yeah, I'm trying to hustle, bro. I ain't make that Stephen A. Smith money, so I need to have 37 different jobs so I can just get little bits of everything.
Dude, you've done an incredible job for yourself. Keep up the good work. I mean, you and I go way back. I really appreciate all the help you've given me over the years too, and thanks for taking some time out today.
Yeah, of course, brother. Of course, man. And congrats. I mean, you're killing it with this gig. And you are filling a need that is out there. And I think that's what makes this so awesome. And you and I had talked about this a long time ago, like when you took over the reins to do this. And I think it's awesome because it gives a voice to people who didn't necessarily have a voice before. But there are a lot of people who want to hear what you guys have to say, what we have to say, because it's important. And I think we have proven now, like with guys like Bones and Woody, like the reason that they're on TV and the reason that people are like, oh, snap, that was insightful. Yeah, you wouldn't have gotten that if it wouldn't have been from a caddy.
Yeah, for sure. Once a caddy, always a caddy. Tip of the cap to you, Mike.
That's it. Right back at you, bro.
We'll be back soon with another podcast, so please subscribe. And in the meantime, make sure to follow the Caddie Network on all your social media channels. I'm host John Rathouz. Thank you for listening.